全ての存在は滅びるようにデザインされている。生と死を繰り返す螺旋に私たちは囚われ続けている。
A video game is usually a way to escape our routinely lives or a way to relieve everyday stress. When a game like Nier shows up, however, it becomes something entirely different. It's something most of us have experienced after watching an amazing and heart-wrenching anime or feature film. It becomes apparent after the ending credits roll that you're left to your own devices and stand there, staring blankly at the screen as the names scroll by, wondering how you should feel about what you've just experienced. In the anime community, there's a term that best describes the aftermath of watching a very powerful series. Dubbed post-anime depression, it might actually be what could best describe my feelings after having been played by Nier's story. Yoko Taro's directing of this abandoned world and universe has always been one where no happy ending can ever come true. And Nier encapsulates this depressing and sad state of affairs under the hopeful cast of flawed but relatable characters that you desperately want to see succeed in what feels like the biggest struggle they ever faced. Nier Automata, developed from a partnership with Platinum Games and Square Enix, sees us return to the desolate world of Nier. Written by Yoko Taro, the game centers around the perspective of 2B and 9S, two androids whose mission is to do reconnaissance and assist in the local resistance group in a ruined city overrun by machine lifeforms, which have occupied the Earth since the aliens controlling them arrived on the planet 5,000 years prior. Along the way, you unravel an evolutionary mystery surrounding the machine lifeforms and the underlying secrets of the deadlock between mankind and the machines. The game features a plethora of endings, 5 of which are crucial, while the rest are just extra bad endings that you can unlock during several points of your playthrough. In reality, 3 of the endings must be reached in order for you to fully understand the story to its fullest. Ending A only brings you to the end of the first half of the game, while Ending B sees you running the first half of the game from another perspective and slightly different mechanics. The third playthrough contains Ending C or D, and this is the second half of the game, and this is where stuff really gets interesting. If you've never played Nier or any of the Drakengard games and would like to know more about the story leading up to the time Automata takes place, you should really watch this video by Valkyrie Aurora, I'll leave the link in the description, which sums up the complete timeline leading up to the beginning of the game. If you thought Kingdom Hearts' story was convoluted and difficult to understand, you've seen nothing. Despite being a game primarily about conflict centered around the proxy war with machines, the game is very emotional and heartfelt. Characters are very likable and their struggle is felt with even greater impact thanks to the talented voice acting in both Japanese and English tracks available to you. It doesn't drag out as a melodramatic JRPG usually does. If anything, this is the most out-of-norm story you'll find in the genre. With no characters safe, the story pulls no punches and instead pulls your heartstrings as you might actually find yourself surprised at the reaction some NPCs have towards your actions or events. The gameplay can be considered an action RPG, but I think the closest comparison to be made is with the spectacle fighters that Platinum is adept at doing. Games like Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising and Transformers share many similarities with Nier in terms of combat, with its simplistic approach but deep mechanical execution. When controlling 2B, you get 2 weapons, one bound to a face button for light and heavy attacks, a dodge button and a shoot button for your pod. All of these combined make for a very satisfying and spectacular combat to look at. Fights are a blast, with frantic dodging while enemies shoot a sea of bullets at you for you to dodge or cut through with your sword, rewarding you for perfect dodges with powerful combos. I say it's a spectacle fighter, but what lies underneath all the combat is a very robust character progression system, with a lot of options for you to tailor your experience to suit your playstyle perfectly. Besides weapon customization, leveling up grants you base stats like health and attack, but there's plenty more to your character. You can install chips to enhance your attacks, bolster your defense, or even enhance your HUD. Likewise, you can disable certain HUD elements to give yourself a bigger challenge, or just free up space for more enhancements, at the cost of losing feedback on the screen. This is a very interesting trade-off, especially when playing on a harder difficulty level. Weapons can be upgraded as well as the pods that accompany you. Weapon upgrades make them more powerful and add secondary effects, making each weapon and weapon type useful for different scenarios. And pod programs give you a lot more customization and let you approach fights in different ways, be it long-ranged and powerful laser blasts, or a row of spears from below your enemies. Pod programs are similar to special weapons on games like Mega Man. Though your basic pod attack is still there, these attacks are much more powerful and are on a cooldown. which you can shorten by equipping chips. Also of note is the fact that there is no auto-saving. In modern times, this would be a feature you'd think would be on every game you play nowadays, but this is a deliberate choice, and while playing you can soon understand why they did it so. Saving becomes very deliberate and important, and less scarce as you go through the game. This can also be of detriment to you if you forget to save and lose progress, as you can get surprised by a boss fight or a more powerful group of enemies on a side quest you were not expecting to face. I very much enjoyed the combat in the game, and the constant variety of genres the game throws at you throughout the playthrough is interesting and make the experience fresh and inventive. The opening section looks like something out of a cave shooter, and when contrasted to the rest of the action-focused combat in third person, it might seem strange, but it happens so seamlessly, especially in the later parts of the game, that it looks like you're watching an epic fight. By the time you reach the final areas of the game, combat is so second nature to you that you'll just look at the screen and enjoy the experience without noticing your inputs. You'll be going through the motions and seamlessly switching up, and they made this seem so incredibly natural that I just have to give immense praise for it. Overall, it's a very solid and versatile combat system, and genre crossing that makes you adapt to various situations really easily and seamlessly. It's a very ambitious proposition, considering the degree of fidelity Platinum achieved at maintaining most of the spirit of the previous Nier game intact with its camera changes and diverse mechanics, and further polishing it, delivering a very interesting and immersive experience. The game's world is drab and devoid of brighter colors, portraying the depressive atmosphere of an ongoing conflict. In its compact and relatively small open world, it manages to show you different locations, each interconnected by sewers, caves, elevators, and tunnels. All of these in a sorry and deprecated state. Nothing in the world looks in pristine condition save for the bunker, a small structure in space our characters call home when not in a mission. Contemplating the depressing atmosphere is the melancholic soundtrack, composed by returning series composer Keiichi Okabe, with a shift towards portraying a more mechanical and brutal theme compared to the original Nier. Rather than making single tracks for every open area, Okabe composed several tracks that, when layered on top of each other, formed different tracks to portray the action on screen. This managed to portray the story with such a unique soundscape, it brings out the better parts of each scene perfectly, and the vocal layering on these tracks is absolutely wonderful to listen. It is a remarkable achievement in sound design for a game of this scope and budget, and I hope to see games do this more often in the future. Nier Automata was something nobody expected to happen due to poor sales of the original, which was unfortunate, as the game is now considered a cult classic and really deserving of more attention. Yoko Taro's storytelling really shines through in games like this, and Automata's really cemented his position in the mainstream gaming scene as one of the greats, to be on the lookout every time a new game comes out with his name on it. It's not for everyone, as the completely optional side questing and openness of the world can turn some people off what is otherwise my personal choice of 2017's Game of the Year so far. Nier Automata receives a Diamond Medal. It is by far one of the best games I've played, both mechanically and story-wise, in a long time. It outshines whatever hype I had after clearing Zelda on Switch, and managed to break any expectations I had on its story. It's deep, emotional, and melancholic, and if you like this kind of story, it'll pull you in such a way that you'll only put the controller down until you see it through to completion. If you do plan on playing it, please do yourself a favor and don't stop on ending A. It is so much more than that, and it really deserves the spotlight for what will probably be one of gaming's next big classics to be remembered. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share about the game, feel free to leave a comment below, and show your support by leaving a like and subscribing if you haven't done so already. As always, this has been Zeldrak, and I'll see you next time.